So I'm up in Carlisle this weekend. I'm actually back to in-person viewings. So during the kind of both lockdowns, I've been buying tenanted property, and I've actually been, rather than viewing the properties myself, I've been making use of the Viewer viewing service, which has been pretty effective, although I'd still prefer to get there in person. It just wasn't possible at the time. So I'm actually up this weekend doing some viewings, and I thought it'd be good just to do a drive-by one of the properties that I recently purchased in Carlisle. So it's just around the corner actually. Purchased it a couple of months ago, tenanted property. The slight issue is that the first month rent hasn't been collected by the agent, unfortunately. So the agent's spoken to the tenant, and it appears that they've not got the standing order right, and they've allegedly sent it to the wrong account. So they're engaging with their bank to try and recover that money, and they've sort of given their kind of word that they've set the standing order for future payments to go to the agent's account. And so hopefully this will be an issue that gets resolved. But yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, especially when it's the first month's rent, which would have been quite nice to have received. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. It's just one of those things, and hopefully it'd be something we can resolve quickly. But I thought it'd just be quite useful just to quickly discuss how you would account for that. So this is a property that I hold in within my limited company, and so for that reason I use accruals accounting rather than cash-based accounting. So a lot of you, so people who invest in their own name, will be familiar with cash-based accounting. And how that would work is you account for rent when it's received, but because I'm using accruals-based accounting in a limited company, it's slightly different. You account for rent when it's owed rather than necessarily paid. So in this case, because the rent hasn't actually been paid, my rent receivable figure will be the same as if I'd been paid the rent. But the difference will be is rather than the rent coming into my bank account, it actually goes into my balance sheet as an asset which is owed to me, or sorry, to the company. That may change in the future if the sort of debt becomes doubtful, and so it looks like we're not going to be able to recover it. However, for the time being, I'm quite confident that we'll be able to get that money back. So you just need to make sure then, if you're in a similar position to this, so if you use accruals-based accounting, you account for the rent when it's owed to you rather than when it's physically received. If there is an issue with the tenant paying your rent, your rent receivable figure will be the same. Rather than the cash in your bank account increase, which would be an asset, you'll instead have an asset which is debt which is owed to you by the tenant, and make sure you push hard for your agent to try and recover that money for you. Potentially in a different video further down the line, we'll look at what we do if it looks like you're not going to be able to recover that debt. Hope you found this useful, and we'll talk again soon.